Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We broadcast this program to you from Rajamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. And I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. During the first part, I will introduce a song to you, as well as the individual or group who performs the song, and we will discuss a little bit about that group, and we will discuss the main themes of the song. Main themes, that means like what the song is about, the basic idea behind the song. Then we will go ahead and listen to the song. That'll get us to the second part of our program. After we're done with the song, we will then analyze the lyrics in the second half of the program, and we will look especially at any difficult vocabulary, slang, or idioms. An idiom, like a slang word, where the word is not used as it would ordinarily mean. An idiom is similar to that, except that it's a saying. It's several words together. It's a phrase, which does not mean exactly what the words suggest it means. So we will look at anything like that is hard to understand. Then we'll get to the latest updates from the university as usual.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I'm an American English teacher here at Rajamakan University of Technology, Peranakan. I've been teaching here for about 7 years, and any of you that watch this program or listen to it will know when I give my introduction that I do mention that I do like to incorporate music into my teaching. And so naturally, I am bringing you a musical program. Okay, so for this week, we are going to be looking at the song If, just two letters, I-F, If, by the group Bread. Now, first of all, let's talk about this group for a moment. It's a very interesting group because of the degree of their popularity and how it just burned them out. Okay, so they mostly performed soft rock, which is one of the reasons they didn't last too long, because not all of the band members wanted to do that. And they are from America. They formed in Los Angeles. And they were really around for only 5 years, from about 1968 to 1973. Now, I'm not sure the exact months they formed. That could stretch almost to 6 years if you include both of those years at the end. 5 to 6 years. That's it. They did have a couple of later reunions, but they didn't last very long. A couple years here, a couple years there, before splitting back up again. They had, however, in just those, well, not just in those 5 years, because one of them did come after that during one of their reunions, but overall, they had 6 top 10 hits. 5 were from that main period of time when they were together from 1968 to 1973. So that's basically a top 10 hit every year. They have a lot of popular songs. Basically, at the end of the program, for those of you that have listened before, you know I like to give you kind of a list of songs that are worth listening to from this group, from any group that I do. I'm going to give you a list of about, I think the list is 5 songs, if I remember correctly. And that's on top of If. So that's 6 songs right there. they actually have a lot more really good songs. All I'm really going to give you is their top 10, is their 6 top 10 hits. That's it. They actually have 10 top 20 hits. So that's 4 additional. And once again, 9 of those. So all except that one. Remember I mentioned one came from one of their reunion periods. So of course, if that's in the top 10, it's also in the top 20. So that's one of those top 20 hits. But the other 9 top 20 hits all came from this initial period when they were together, from 1968 to 1973. So that is a tremendous number of hits. Think about that. 9 top 20 hits in 5 years. And really, that's one of the reasons why they only lasted 5 years. Because they were burned out. They were writing a lot of songs. They were touring a lot. Not everyone was happy. There were some people that wanted to do sort of a heavier style of rock music. In fact, they have like one song, which I didn't even include in my list at the end, but they do have one song that's a little heavier. And you can hear that, yeah, they could probably do that if they wanted to. They could be a kind of standard rock band. Maybe not hard rock or heavy metal. That might have been a little too much for them. And back then, 1968 to 73, heavy metal was really very new. In fact, arguably, heavy metal wasn't even out there yet. But there were a couple of bands that had 1 or 2 songs that we think of as maybe the first heavy metal song, which did come out kind of right around that period. So maybe heavy metal had started, but yeah, around that time, not really. So probably not too heavy of a sound if you listen to that one song. That's more, a little more rock and roll. But clearly they were good enough to do rock and roll, to do sort of a harder rock kind of genre of music. And in fact, a couple of their members wanted to do that. But the lead guy, he kind of ran the show, and he didn't want to. He wanted to pretty much stick to what they were doing. And honestly, you can really understand both sides of the argument, really. The argument from the side from the side of the lead guy who wanted to just stick with the soft rock, what they were doing, makes sense. 9 top 20 hits in 5 years. It's obviously working. Just do what you want to do. Just do that. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't mess with it. They were one of the most popular bands in the world, especially in North America. But even in the world, they were one of the most popular bands for this brief period of time. And that's why a lot of people have never heard of them, like in modern times, because they were popular for such a brief time. I mean, they just skyrocketed to fame and then disappeared. Pretty crazy history with this band. So you can see the argument about just sticking to what you do. They're doing a phenomenal job of it. They were one of the most famous bands in the world. 9 hit songs in 5 years. Keep doing it. Even when they had their reunion, and a lot of times when these bands do these reunion tours, they don't come up with a lot of new music. They're just performing their old hits so that they can go out on tour and satisfy the fans and make some money for themselves. That's usually what they do. They even had one of their hits is even on their reunion, on their first reunion tour that they did. They did a new album, had some new music. They even got one of their hits out of there. So just crazy talented group with this style of music. So you can understand why the lead singer wanted to stick to it. But you can also understand why some of the other band members wanted to change it up. I mean, for one, that just wasn't their style. This wasn't their style of music. They didn't really like playing this music, and this is all they're doing. continuously. For another thing, sometimes a group can, even the fans can get a little bit bored of a group if it's the same type of music all the time. You don't hear many groups change genres a lot, but there are some out there, and it does work for some of them. The band Kiss put out a few kind of pop or almost disco-y pop songs a couple of times, and they're generally thought of as a heavy metal band. Now, some of the band members, just like in this case, hated that because they didn't like that style of music. They felt they were a heavy metal band. That's what they should be doing. You know what? Those are some of their most popular songs. The kind of pop disco songs. They worked. Expanded their fan base. They got even more fans. And most of their hardcore fans, some of them saw those songs and thought they were kind of selling out the popular music. That's where the term pop music comes from. So some of their fans thought they were selling out, but it was a few songs, that's all. So they didn't really lose their core fan base. Their core fans maybe didn't really like those songs, but they didn't lose their fans. So they really just gained in popularity by doing that. So you can kind of expand your fan base, increase your popularity by kind of going out and doing different things. Plus, some of the band members wanted to do those different things. So you can understand that argument as well. And the one song which they did, which was a little more rock and roll, it's a good song. So they also showed that they could do it. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why the band broke up after such a short amount of time. It was mostly that they were just burned out because they were touring so much, writing so much music, putting out so many albums. They were working really hard. But part of it also was just this difference of opinion as far as where the band should go. And so they just split up, and that was that. Again, they did reunite a couple times after that, but just briefly. Okay. So that's the band, and again, the name of the band, I only mentioned it once there right at the beginning, is Bread. Like the food you eat, bread. That's the name of the band, Bread. Now, for the song we're doing is If. It's written in 1971. This is right around the middle part of when they were really popular. So, I've mentioned many times in our past episodes that so many of these bands come out with their best song is like on their first album a lot of times. I believe that might have been, we had several in a row where that wasn't true. I think that might have been true in last week's episode. I'm not sure about that. And I already have next week's episode planned, and for next week's episode, it's sort of true. It was definitely one of their first songs they came up with, but as far as which album it was on, the way the song was put out was a little bit weird. They put it out on several demos first and blah, 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 whatever. But it was definitely one of the first songs that that group wrote. Happens a lot of times. You see one of the first songs. But of course, with Bread, like I said, 9 hits in 5 years. Obviously, they get hits all over the place. So yes, their first album did have some of their best songs. Their last album had some of their best songs. I mean, they basically, almost every album they had good music on it. I think because they were pumping out so many songs, they had several albums. So I think there were a couple of albums that were, not as well received. It didn't have as many good songs. But most of their albums had at least a good song or two on there. So it's not surprising that here, with this band, we get a good song sort of in the middle of their career. Like I was just talking about, a lot of times you see it right at the beginning, which I honestly never even realized until I started doing this program. And I think that's an interesting feature about these bands and these performers, is that so often their best performances come at the beginning of their career, their best songs. I would have just naturally thought that you get more experience, you get better at doing what you're doing. Your better songs are going to come maybe in the middle, maybe not later because you get kind of worn out. But maybe the middle of your career. But then I kind of thought about it, and the record labels, the producers, they're really pushing you to put out more music once you become popular. They want us to make more money, sell more stuff. And so there's so much pressure to write music at that point that maybe the quality is going down because you just have to write a song, put the music to it, write another song, put the music to it, write another song, put the music to it. And so the quality of the music goes down. And so when I thought about it that way, it made sense that a lot of these best songs come early. But again, here with Bread, it's right in the middle of their first time together, their main period that they were together. Okay, and this song reached number 4. So it is one of their top 10 hits. Like I said, we're really just going to talk about their top 10 hits today. I want to say one of the songs I'm going to mention at the end might be in their top 20. Just if I count up the number of songs I'm going to mention. I mentioned they had one song that was in their reunion period. It's called Lost Without Your Love. That was in the top 10. I don't mention that at the end of the program. There are 1, 2, 3, 4... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs I'm going to mention at the end. Plus we have If. So that's 7 songs there. They only had 6 top 10. So one of these songs, I don't actually remember which one it is. I think I have a guess. One of them just got to number like 11 or something like that. I think I might remember which one it is. I think it's the song Guitar Man. But this one, If, reached number 4. So what is it about? It's really a very simple song. It's about love, which a lot of songs are about. We have seen a lot of really kind of these sad songs about losing people, about being in a relationship with bad people. This is not about that. This is just kind of a nice, sweet song. It's about being dedicated to someone in your love. It does talk about occasionally in here about bad things happening. But what it's saying in the song is that even when these bad things are happening, I'll still be there with you. So that's the only reason it even talks about any bad things, is that it's saying that no matter what happens, I'll be there with you. So that's why it's about being dedicated. Dedicated means, when you're dedicated to something, it means good or bad, you do it. Because it's something you're really committed to doing. You have a lot of kind of willpower to do that. So dedicated love means that good or bad, you'll be there. Okay, so it's really simple. That's really the main theme of the song. That's all it's about. It's not a very long song, which is why I talked so much about the band right here and sort of general stuff about them. Because the second half of the program is going to be a little bit on the short side. There's not a real chorus there, so we do have to go through all the words of the song, basically, because it's just different verses. So the second part of the program is not going to be too fast, but it is going to be a little bit on the short side. So let's get to the song. Let's go listen to that song. And for those of you joining us by YouTube, if you've listened before, you know how it works. Or if you've watched before, since you're on YouTube, copyright issues do prevent us from embedding the video. So you should see a link in the upper right-hand corner. Go ahead and click on that. That'll take you to the video for the song. And then you can jump back here for the second half of the program. If you're just listening on radio or streaming, since we are a radio station, we have no problem just playing the music. So you will have no problem just listening to the music. You should be able to listen just fine. Okay, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome back. All right, that was If by Bread. And that is a song about dedicated love. Okay, so let's just jump right into the lyrics. Okay, and you'll notice that we use the word if a lot. That's why they have the name of the song is If. It basically says, if this, then this. Okay, so we start out, if a picture paints 1,000 words, then why can't I paint you? The words will never show the you I've come to know. Okay. So this is a little confusing here. He asked this question. He's actually answering the question. We have a saying in English that is a picture paints 1,000 words. In other words, it's better to look at a picture than hear some description of it. It'll take 1,000 words to describe just looking at a picture. You look at the picture, okay, you understand. You understand what's going on. It'll take 1,000 words to explain all that. So it's better to look at pictures rather than hear someone explain. So that's what that saying means. A picture paints 1,000 words. So he's saying, then why can't I paint you? In other words, so he's saying that that's an easier way to describe someone than 1,000 words. Well, he kind of answers it by saying the words will never show the you I've come to know. So what he's suggesting there is that even 1,000 words isn't enough because the words will never show the you I've come to know. So there aren't enough words. And since a picture paints 1,000 words, the picture isn't even good enough. So I can't even paint you, even though a picture is better than words. It's still not enough. It's basically what he's saying there. In other words, he's talking about just how wonderful this other person is. I presume it's she. Back then they didn't write many songs about same-sex stuff. In fact, even now they don't write too many songs that way. And the singer is a man, so I presume he's talking about her, about a she. So in other words, she is probably very beautiful, and probably not just beautiful on the outside, probably beautiful inside as well, has a good heart, nice person, kind person, sweet person, very loving person. So he just can't even describe her. So he's just saying nice things. Like I said, this song is really just kind of nice. Some of the songs we've had were about like bad relationships and fighting for someone, whatever. This is just a nice, sweet little love song. Okay. The next one, if a face could launch 1,000 ships, then where am I to go? Okay. So this one is a little weird. And I'll tell you why it's a little weird. It's weird because even I, the English teacher, I'm not sure about this idiom, what it means. There's an idiom in here. It is an English idiom that we use. And I purposefully did not actually look it up. We have like hundreds of idioms in English, so even English teachers don't know them all. I mean, I know this idiom, but what I don't know is exactly what it's supposed to mean. We have a saying about your face could launch 1,000 ships. But we don't use it very often. So what does it mean? Well, the reason I didn't want to even look it up is because people listening to this song aren't going to look it up. They just hear the lyrics. Just hear the song. They're not going to go look it up. So what does that mean when someone says your face could launch 1,000 ships? Well, we use it so infrequently in English that I'm even honestly not sure. But I think it's used to suggest beauty and power. So these ships would be going somewhere. I don't know where. Like I said, the saying doesn't really make sense. The idiom doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not really sure where. And in fact, it even says, the next line says, then where am I to go? I don't know. I'm not sure where you're supposed to go after you launch the ships. But there's some power behind the beauty. Because I do think it's used in terms of something related to beauty. The few times I've actually heard this used, and it would make sense here. The first verse was talking about how beautiful she is. But it's kind of the power of that beauty. It's able to launch 1,000 ships. Okay, so I think what he's saying here is, and again, I could be even wrong because I purposefully didn't look it up. I wanted to try to go on what he's saying. I think it's trying to say that she has some pull, some attraction to her. That's the power. Okay, so if a face could launch 1,000 ships, then where am I to go? There's no one home but you. You're all that's left me to. Okay. And I will tell you right now that this line is also a little confusing. There's no one home but you. Okay? That's fine. No one home but you. So that's probably where he's going. You're all that's left me to. When you leave someone, that means they're gone. I don't think that's what he means here. As you'll see from the very next line. I don't think she actually left me. I think what he means there is that that's all he has left. If you say that's all you have left, that means it's the only thing that you still have. I think the lyrics are a little confusing there. Probably he's trying to make sure it rhymes and everything, makes a good song. And so there's a little too much. That happens sometimes with music. They have to make sure the actual lyrics line up with the music. And so sometimes they actually will play with the lyrics. I don't particularly like that. Come up with better lyrics. Make the lyrics make sense. But even some very famous bands with a lot of success have done that. And I think that's what he's doing here. So I think that's what he means here when he says, you're all that's left me to. I think what he's saying is she's the only thing he has. Because again, remember, this is a song about being dedicated in love. So that's the only thing he's concerned about. He's just concerned about her. He's dedicated to her. Okay, we continue on with this same verse. And when my love for life is running dry, you come and pour yourself on me. Okay, when your love for life is running dry, when you say something is running dry, it doesn't necessarily mean it's dry. It means it's running out. So his love for life is running out. So in other words, he's being worn down by life. He's tired. Maybe he doesn't like his job. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of money. It's just a lot of bad stuff going on, whatever. You come and pour yourself on me. Pour yourself on me. Pour. That's like when you get a bottle of water and you put it in a glass. Pour. Pour yourself on me. That doesn't make sense. How do you pour yourself on someone? Okay. This is kind of like an analogy because he said his love for life is running dry. So it's running dry. So pouring water on something to make it wet again. So in other words, she is giving him love for life again when he's with her. So that's what that means. You come and pour yourself on me. In other words, his love for life is no longer dry. Okay. We move on. If a man could be 2 places at one time, I'd be with you. Tomorrow and today, beside you all the way. Okay, so this one's a little tricky also, you kind of have to assume that for whatever reason, and maybe this is kind of a personal song for him, because maybe this is really about him. Because keep in mind, this band is touring a lot, because you kind of have to assume here that he's not actually with her. Because it says if a man could be two places at one time, I'd be with you. Well, and clearly he must not be with her, because he's saying if he could make two of himself, the other one that he makes would be with her. So again, what he's trying to convey here is he's trying to tell her, I know I'm not there with you right now. So again, this could be a personal story because the band was touring a lot. So if he has a girlfriend or a wife, he's not going to be with her a lot. So what he's saying is, if I could, I would be with you. Tomorrow, today, beside you all the way. All the way means all the way through life. So I'd be with you all the time, through everything. Okay? So that was still a tiny bit confusing, but not too much. Not too much. We just have to assume that he's actually not with her. Okay, then we get the last verse here. If the world should stop revolving, spinning slowly down to die, I'll spend the end with you, and when the world was through. Then one by one the stars would all go out, then you and I would simply fly away. Okay. So this one sounds a little sad, right? Because it's about the world ending. No, this is also supposed to be nice. What this is just saying, all this is saying is that I'll be with you forever. So even in the worst times, if the whole world was being destroyed, literally destroyed, the world should stop revolving. Revolving means turning. So how we get day and night, it's because the world spins, the globe spins. So it says spinning slowly down, so it's stopping. And then it dies. So the whole world just dies. I'd spend the end with you. So he wants to be with her during that time. And when the world was through, when you say something is through, you mean it's done, it's over. So it's dead. The world is dead. So the stars would all go out. I don't know why you'd stop seeing the stars, but yeah, this is just a kind of a metaphor here. This is not literal. The world is not going to just stop revolving tomorrow. This is not literal. So the stars would go out. In other words, you can't see the stars anymore, the sky. And you and I would simply fly away. I think what we're talking about there, obviously, since the world dies, they're going to die too. Everyone's going to die. So we're talking about their souls, their spirits. They'd go away together. So that's what I mean about being together forever. Even after they die, that's what that's about. So it sounds kind of sad about the world ending and like that. No, this is actually supposed to be a sweet part of the love song as well. It's just saying that after everything's gone, we will still be together. Even after we die, we will be together. Our spirits, our souls, whatever you believe happens to you after life, after your life on earth, whatever that is, they will be together. Okay, so that's it for that song. It's just a sweet little love song. And as you listen to it, you heard that it was indeed soft rock, quite soft as a matter of fact. That is how most of Bread's songs are. I did mention they had one rock song out there. But most of their songs, yes, are very much soft rock. So that's If by Bread. And a lot of times, in fact, almost every time, we've only had one or two programs where there's not many songs I can recommend for a group. So almost every group, I recommend other songs to listen to. I really recommend it with this group because they have so many really good songs. So as I always do, I'm going to mention a few to you, but this is really just their top ones. The total program here, I've only going to mention 7 songs to you. As I mentioned, they have 10 top 20 songs. So the song we did now is If. I mentioned to you earlier that in their first reunion, they had a song called Lost Without Your Love. That was a top 10 song. So I'm going to mention 5 more songs to you now. It Don't Matter to Me, Make It With You, Everything I Own, Baby I'ma Want You, and Guitar Man. By the way, we say guitar, not guitar. It's guitar. For some reason, in the song they say guitar or guitar. There are some people in English-speaking countries that, due to their accent, they'll say guitar, but not most people. So I don't know why they say it that way. Maybe it sounds better for the song. Guitar Man doesn't sound as good as Guitar Man. I don't know. So maybe that's why they do it that way. I'm not sure. I do think it sounds better in the song if you say guitar. So that's probably why they do it that way. And by the way, I think, I could be wrong about this. I'd have to go look it back up. I think that is the one song, remember I mentioned one of these songs was not in the top 10? It was in the top 20, but not in the top 10. So I think it peaked at like number 11. And I think it might be Guitar Man. May have peaked at number 11. But all those 7 songs that I've mentioned so far were all in the top 20. And again, they have 3 more songs that were in the top 20. So this is a band that's definitely worth going and listening to more of their music. They may be one of the most underrated bands of all time because they were so popular for such a brief time that people have forgotten about them. But again, 9 hit songs in 5 years. And then they had that one more hit song in their first reunion. So they have 10 top 20 songs. But 9 of them in 5 years. This was just an incredible group. And honestly, I really like most of these songs. It Don't Matter to Me, I Want to Make It With You. Yeah, these are all good songs. I think probably my least favorite, it's probably the one they did in their reunion, Lost Without Your Love. That's probably my least favorite of these 7 that I've mentioned. But I mean, they're all good. I don't know, maybe Lost Without Your Love or maybe Guitar Man, just because the style of that song is a little different. It's less appealing to me. It's still a really good song, though. I mean, we're talking about, okay, these songs are great. These songs are just very good. Kind of that level. So I really recommend you going listening to more songs by Bread. Again, that's Bread, B-R-E-A-D, just like the food you eat. Bread. All right. Thank you for joining us for today's Musical Musings program. Please stay with us and make sure you tune back in next week for another great song. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical